Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the conversation I'm about to have right now as me and Mr. Brandon Mendenhall get into his story here. But yeah, as we were talking about before we went online, I wanted to give a little bit more time, not just to get into your music and cover the Chase and Go CP and everything, but get your story out there a little bit, man. It's quite an inspirational story.
Heck yeah, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background though. So do you, when you were like, first of all, let's just give the audience, let's explain to the audience your situation, or I'll let you tell like a little bit about your story real quick.
So the 2-minute 60-second elevator pitch is, my name is Brandon Mendenhall. I play guitar for a band called the Mendenhall Experiment. The Mendenhall Experiment is my band that I created to see if the dude with cerebral palsy can write a bunch of songs, make an album, get signed, and then take that band to a national level of success. And I think, our history will prove to you that we've done that, and we continue to inspire people across the globe with our message and our movement of raising disability awareness with my story and my band story, because I'm not the only one with a disability in my band. My bass player is partially blind and partially deaf, and my new drummer that we just picked up, Cameron Casey, falls somewhere on the autism spectrum.
Wow, yeah, and it's definitely an incredible, inspirational story, and that's why I wanted to give you a little bit more time to get into that. Now, one of the questions I normally ask my guests on is like, what they originally wanted to be when they grew up as a kid. When was it that, you discovered that you had cerebral palsy?
Well, I was born with cerebral palsy. It came because when I was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck, causing lack of oxygen, causing what they would accrue to like having a stroke. And the byproduct of that was my cerebral palsy condition. But they didn't realize that I have cerebral palsy until I was like 4. They thought it was a delay, and that I was going to all these doctors, and because I didn't walk until I was 4. And finally I landed in front of the right doctor, and he goes, "That child has cerebral palsy. I'm 100% sure of it. I see it all the time." So then they got me hooked up with the right people, and we started, learning about the condition, but also treating it in ways to make me more mobile and get me upright. I've had 12 different surgeries on my left foot, and basically, for the common person that doesn't know what cerebral palsy is, it is a neuromuscular disorder, and it affects everybody who has it a little bit differently. There's 4 different types. In my particular case, my cerebral palsy affects my left side. So it affects my speech, obviously, my motor function, my coordination. So it affects the way I walk, the way I talk. It affects my left hand, which would be my fretting hand on the guitar, and that kind of all plays into the story and the band of what did I want to be when I grew up. I wanted to be everything a little kid wants to be. At first, it was a firefighter. Then I wanted to be a football player, and then an NHL star, and then like the Karate Kid drops. So all I wanted to do was learn karate and martial arts, and going through each one of those phases as a child does, I was told no at every single door. And it was always the same thing. Oh, you can't do that because your cerebral palsy or your disability, rather. And so finally, when I was like 11 years old when I first heard heavy music. I heard Korn's self-titled album, and then shortly thereafter, somebody introduced me to um, the Downward Spiral from Nine Inch Nails when that album came out. And it's like those two albums like really changed my life and really made me go, what is this music? What is this? This is what I want to do. So I gravitated towards, I want to play guitar. And then, like, of course, same old story. They said, oh, well, you can't. There's no way you can play a guitar. You can't even move your left hand. And the doctors and everybody told my parents to basically discourage me from doing it. And so, but I was older, 12, 11, 12, and I carried that one with me until like adulthood, and I just didn't let go of it. And finally, at 19, I convinced my grandmother to lend me money to get my first guitar. I hid it from my grandfather because he was like, absolutely no grandson of mine is going to be a musician. I want you to be a farm boy. And I'm like, nah, not my style. Don't want to do that. I want to follow these guys. Because these guys in these bands like Korn and Pantera and Nine Inch Nails, they were cool to me. I saw them in the magazines and on the tours, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be them. So I just kind of, got that first guitar. And my grandfather was like, you'll never be a guitar player. And I kind of grabbed onto that and just never let go of it. I was like, you don't think I can do it? Watch me.
And that's amazing. I noticed the poster behind you, Mind Over Matter. And that's, I can't imagine, like, okay, you have professionals like doctors telling you, no, you can't ever do this. And then you have even loved ones, people that, family members that, you want to, they're telling you, no, you can't. Where did you a lot of people that don't have your disability and have people that just they just have a bad day, man. And I can be sometimes one of those people that just will struggle with like the mental health. What was like inspiring to you, or what was it inside that kept you like pushing, like, no, I will do this?
I think I just thought like musicians and guitarists in particular were like the coolest people on this planet. And like I thought that you know, if I could do that and become something in music and become a respected guitarist, that um that then I would finally be respected as a human being, and people would start seeing my talent first and the disability second. And that's what I always wanted from being a little kid. I never really understood the segregation of having a disability, because I always told my mom, even when I was little, I always told my mom, I said, I don't I don't understand why these people are picking on me, why these kids don't want to be my friend and don't want to like accept me. If I can look past my disability, why can't they? And I always kind of held on to that and told myself that I'm going to live my life like my disability doesn't exist and kind of screw all these other people. You know, if they don't want to see me as a human being and accept my disability as not being a problem, then I'm just going to live my life like it doesn't exist. And the people that gravitate towards me are going to be my people, and the people that don't are non-existent to me. And I'm still kind of like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing, man. I'm inspired hearing that. It's just like there's so many people, and I'll put myself on blast, man. That it takes years of practicing, like some sort of mental toughness to get over. I could be my own worst enemy. I'm a recovering addict. I got 16 years sober, but there's like, battles that I'll put in front of myself just from my head, and I look for inspiration on how to, like, it's like exercising a muscle, almost, like, okay, how do I need to change the gears on this whole thinking thing? I've been working with the VA on some things that I experienced, but it's like, it sounds like you just had it. You just were like, I mean, right from the get-go, you just, what was there a point where something kind of, you could recall back when you were little, like, was there a point where you're just like, okay, I guess they know best, or then you said, well, screw it, no, I'm going to prove them wrong, or like when did that happen for you?
No, I don't think there ever was a point where I just sat back and said, "Oh, I guess they know best." Like, I've always been the person of, if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it no matter what. And the title of the movie, Mind Over Matter, came from my grandfather. Always told me that you should focus on a career path or something in life that's going to be focused on your mind and not your physical body. And he always told me, if you want to do something, if it's mind over matter, you can do it no matter what. You just got to put your mind to it. And as long as you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. So he kind of, at the same time, he was discouraging me from playing an instrument because he didn't want to deal with the loud noise, and he also didn't want to see me get hurt, the more important aspect of it. But he also set me up for success in laying that foundation of, you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. So his kind of ideology kind of worked against him, And when it came for me to play music and stuff, it's like I just never let go of it. I like I told you, I think I looked at being a musician and a guitarist as being like, it's a way for me to equalize myself to the rest of the world. People would see me as a person first and the disability second. And And honestly, it's kind of been that, being a guitarist and having built this foundation has given me a voice to people respect me now, and they see the work I've done, the music I've made, and maybe they finally do. They see that the disability is just an inconvenience, and I think that's how Munky from Korn explained it to me one day. He goes, I see you and I see your condition and I see it just as annoyance to you, being annoying. And it is, because it gets in my way every day, and I feel you. I'm a whole recovering addict. Uh, Part of your life. I've been sober from hard drugs since 2007. And I just woke up one day and said, I'm either going to die doing this and I'm going to die a drug addict, or I'm going to quit right here. And that was my path. I know it's not like that for everybody. Uh, Treatment, medication, whatever works for you, as long as however you get sober, the end result is you got sober. Doesn't matter how you got there.
Now, yeah, I didn't realize that you had a history too with was that you care sharing a little bit about that time frame of your life? Was that kind of like almost like what contributed to when you were using or drinking?
Well, I moved to Hollywood and I wanted to work in a recording studio and produce records. I wanted to be a record producer, or at best, a Pro Tools engineer that got credits on all these commercial records. Didn't matter what style. I just wanted to work on albums and make and get credit for it and get a paycheck. And that was my career plan. So I'd gone to music production school at Full Sail in Orlando, Florida, or Winter Park rather. I lived there for 2 years, got my degree, got all of my Pro Tool certifications. Then I moved to Hollywood and I got a job interning at Westlake Westlake Recording Studios, one of the big five in Los Angeles at the time. And I was starting to work my way up the chain. In the studio, I went from intern to they created a secondary position for me called advanced intern, and then it looked like I was finally going to get hired on as staff. And what it came down to, the bottom line of the situation is, at that time, the studio industry kind of crashed, and a lot of positions within the studio hierarchy were being condensed. And so what that meant was, in layman's terms, because of my disability and my cerebral palsy, I've never had a driver's license. I could probably drive, but the liability of me driving and maybe getting into an accident that wasn't my fault, but then getting sued by somebody because I have a disability and a license is something that I always kind of avoided. And that was a complex that my grandparents kind of passed down to me. So I never really got my license. And because I never drove a car, I couldn't drive, I couldn't run errands for the studio. So they didn't want to put me on paid staff, and they let me go. And that crushed my world. Now, mind you, the whole time I was working at the studio, that's when I got introduced to this wonderful drug called cocaine. Because I was at the studio for, I basically lived at that studio. I had gotten a job at Target basically across the street from the studio. So I would go and I would work at Target, and I would go intern at the studio, and I would just never go home. I was either at Target or I was at the studio. And there's showers at the studio and everything. So I was like showering at the studio, handling my business at the studio, and then sleeping on the couches of one of the lounges, and then working at Target. I basically lived there 24/7 for like 7 months of my life until I burned myself out. That I when they kind of moved to I could see that they were gonna let me go. I started to pull away, and I was like, I need to like get my life back and start focusing on me, because I basically put my life on hold for the studio. So that's what I wanted to do, but at the same time, working so damn hard, trying to stay up all those hours and prove myself, I mastered fucking drug addiction out of all of it. So then I'm like, you know, doing coke, and then someone had introduced me to ecstasy, so I was doing coke and ecstasy, and then drinking was always a part of that too, because you're always trying to balance out your high or this, that, or the other thing. So I was just 20, 21, 22 years old, and I was a freaking mess, man. And it all kind of came crashing down. The studio didn't hire me. And then I went into a dark depression and tried to like take my own life. And I was, just partying for about the next couple of years after that. Didn't really do much with my life until I hit a point. I hit that rock bottom, and I was gonna give up on music. And I brought one of my guitars, and I gave it to Munky from Korn at the album premiere concert thing they had for the release of their album in Bakersfield. I gave him my guitar because it was signed by Steve Vai, and that's his hero, and I knew that it meant something to him, so I gave it to him, and I was like, this isn't really working out for me, like I'm out, And at that point, he encouraged me to like take the time, give it one more shot, and if I couldn't find a band on my own, to join a band, because at that point I transitioned. Okay, if the studio life isn't gonna work, let's give playing music and being a guitarist a shot. So I went after that, and that wasn't working either because nobody wanted to hire a guitarist with cerebral palsy. But then Munky had encouraged me to kind of start my own band based around my own parameters. And that's how my band, the Mendenhall Experiment, came to life. Nice. Because he said, give it one more shot. And I did. And I got, that was like, we had that meeting at that show, and then the following day, I went home and I was all excited from just the love that everybody showed me in that moment, It kind of breathed life into me and showed me I had one more shot. Threw all my drugs away, started to do my best to get sober. It took 6 to 9 months after that to fully kick everything. But I did, man. I did what I had to do, and I got it moving.
That's amazing. So, want to take it back a little bit too. Like, what attracted you to guitar, and then what kind of obstacles, obviously, other than your disability, but anybody just trying to learn to play guitar, like, is there any hacks or whatever you had to utilize when learning guitar?
Oh yeah, I had to. Like I said, guitar always inspired me because I thought that like guitarists were like the coolest people on the planet. So I wanted to be one of the cool people, right? But then I had this giant obstacle in front of me to because I couldn't play traditional like bar chords. Even like the punk, the FU chords were hard for me. So I was really discouraged because I have all my friends that were musicians and engineers at the time. They come over, they pick up all my guitars and stuff, and they play all these riffs, and they jam out, and they basically like show me up on my own damn instrument, on my own gear, and that pissed me off and hurt, like crushed my feelings at the same time for a long time. And then I was reading like a guitar instructional book one day, and I read the story about Keith Richards about how he tuned his guitars to an open chord so that he could play in the stones and kind of be all messed up on whatever substances he was using and kind of be lazy. And it kind of clicked with me. I'm like, oh man, maybe that's how I can get around this thing. And then so I started with an open C, and then a friend of mine suggested, you know, you need to be in drop C tuning because of the music that you're into and what you're trying to create. And so we set up my guitars in drop C, and I've kind of been there ever since, and all the doors kind of open. Because then now I could use my hand and my music of knowledge production to write songs and to write, at least skeletons of what would become songs. And then I would bring those skeletons into my band and say, these are my ideas. This is what I have. And we build them out from there.
Nice. Now, also, like, you know, did I don't know if you ever heard of Gregory Iron?
Nah. Who he plays for?
He's not a musician, but I'm based here in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm also like a big wrestling fan. And Gregory's from Cleveland here, and I've gotten a chance to know him through the years. But he as well was born with cerebral palsy, and he ended up becoming a professional wrestler. And his story's pretty amazing. And I was just thinking, my head's bouncing all over the place. So it'd be great to connect you guys. Maybe he'd have you guys do his entrance music or something like that.
Are you talking professional wrestling in the sense of like WWE sense, or like professional grappling wrestling?
No, like WWE sense. But
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. He was just had, he's been sharing his story. He was he had a rough upbringing and everything, and just like another inspirational person that just didn't let his disability define him, and came up with hacks on how to work out and exercise, because I believe it's his left arm too, or maybe it's his right, but same thing, like how do I he grew up, he knows all the stats and everything about wrestling. He's a big wrestling fan, and he wrestled for a lot of independent leagues. But I mean, he's been associated with like CM Punk and, a lot of the big names like Johnny Gargano, who's a Cleveland guy who's in WWE right now, is like one of his best friends. But anyway, I don't want, I'll have to try and get you guys connected or something, but I wasn't sure if the reason why I was asking, because I was like, have you gone out and kind of looked at other like, okay, well, this person struggles with a similar disability and they're doing something. Have you found inspiration in other people as well that have overcome?
Yeah, I'm a part of I'm a part of a disabled musicians group called Can Do Musos, the worldwide organization that is kind of a coalition of um, disabled musicians, and we've done a handful of performances at the NAMM show in Anaheim in Southern California here, and meeting those guys who come from all parts of the world with all kinds of different afflictions, and seeing how they make music kind of work for them has been inspiring to me. And then I also work with a foundation out of New York City, called Daniel's Music Foundation, and they teach music to adults and children with any kind of disability, and they have 3D printing machines on site. So if they have to make adaptive pieces for instruments for a particular student, they can kind of produce and mold and experiment and come up with different things that will make an instrument work for somebody that is totally revolutionary. And then I also sit on the board of governors for uh, Los Angeles-based disability organization called Momentum. They used to be called United Cerebral Palsy of Los Angeles, and they've rebranded with a partnership with the Momentum Company, and they focus on, you know, outreach for people with all kinds of different developmental disabilities and stuff. So I've met and interacted with people with all different kinds of afflictions, and I find inspiration in all of them. It's awesome to see somebody else out there, killing it.
Is that how you got connected then with who is it, Nathan that's in your band?
No, ironically, I met Nathan through mutual friends. A mutual friend of a former lineup that I had in my band. His band ended up opening for. Nathan had a band, and they ended up opening for the Mendenhall Experiment, and that's how I met Nathan. Mm-hmm. And then it was funny. At first, I didn't even realize Nathan was blind or partially deaf. I just thought he was kind of a wonky character, And then his wife told me, Sarah said, you know he's blind, right? And I was like, no way. And then she was like, yeah, and he's partially deaf too. And then we just became fast friends, and Nathan realized that he needed to be in my band, that we were kind of speaking the same language. So when the spot opened up and the timing was right, Nathan was the first kind of like, you're in the band kind of thing, and he was up for it.
Nice. Now I know we got to get into so the band the band gets together. You find you took Munky's advice. You gave it another shot. You got the band together. Let's talk about getting together and then and recording. Now, I mean, obviously we got to get into Chasing Ghosts, your latest EP that we're plugging. That I read also involves some of the singles from previous albums or whatever, but let's tell a little bit of the story of getting the Mendenhall Experiment together at first and playing.
So we finally found we played we more or less got lucky. I was recovering from foot surgery, and I was putting what became like the very beginning demos of what became our first EP together. And I was laid up from surgery on my foot, like the 10th or 11th one, something like that. And I had all these songs together, and I was looking for like a new lineup. And I met I got on Craigslist, and I was looking, and I found the guys, this group of guys that wanted to back me up. But at the same time, Monster Energy Aftershock had been announced. And I knew the guy that eventually became our manager, my friend Greg Jernigan, had connections at Monster Energy. So I can hit him up, and I was like, hey, do you think you could get my band a slot on the festival? Korn was the headliner with Avenged Sevenfold, and it was Korn, Avenged, Five Finger, him, A Day to Remember, and Megadeth was the other mega huge one. And I was like, can you get us a slot on this festival, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I think I can make that happen. So he made some calls, and then I started playing, and I met the guys, and we started doing gigs, and the festival was approaching, and I was like, I met the Monster Energy rep, and I'm like, can you get us on the festival? And he was like, yeah, let me see what I can do, right? And then so I'm going through the paces. We're still doing local gigs. We opened up for like POD and Alien Influence, so we're climbing the ladder. And then the Monster guy was like, yeah, I can get you on. And then it came back, and he was like, no, it's not going to happen. So I, being the guy that doesn't take no for an answer, I then reached out to Munky, and I said, hey, I'm trying to get on this festival via Monster Energy. It's getting a little bit of pushback. Like, can you help? 2 hours later, we had a slot on that festival. And that kind of, we did that festival, and then we got in a car accident on the way home. And that kind of shattered that lineup. And then everybody fell away, and I knew Nathan from his previous band. And I got Nathan together, and then my guitar tech, Mike, who was with us for that first Aftershock performance, I said, hey, why don't you come play guitar for us? And then he goes, well, my brother will play drums. And I was like, how old's your brother? He goes, my brother's 15. And I was like, that's not going to work. And he goes, no, you got to see him play. Send me a video of him covering Slipknot. And I watched you play, and I'm like, okay, if he can play that, okay. So we all got together, and then we found Mario. Once we got Mario, that was the final piece. And within 6 months of us solidifying that lineup, we got on the Battle for Warp Tour, and we made it all the way to the final, the House of Blues. And We would have won that competition had it not been fixed. It was rigged. And we didn't win, but what we did do is we got a call from a record label the following week and said, Lucid Records called us and said, why don't you come down and we'd like to have a conversation with you. We saw you at the Battle for Wood tour and thought you were the best band of the night, and we'd like to potentially work together. And we ended up signing with them because they have distribution through the Universal Music Group. And we're like, okay, well, this is a great way for us to get on the level of like the mainstream industry and continue to do things like Aftershock with Danny Wimmer, you know. So that's what we did. We signed with Lucid Records, and then from that point, it was like being shot out of a cannon. We got the offer to do the movie in between all of that, so we started doing production for the film. We ended up doing Aftershock 2016 on the main stage, opening for Korn. And then we do Rocklahoma, and then we got linked up with UCPLA, and they gave me an award for all of the trailblazing disability awareness work that we've done. And then we just started touring and releasing music like any other band. But somewhere in there, things always kind of go sideways, you know, and not to get too far into the story. But yeah, man, we got signed, and then everything kind of took off for us. We were doing festivals and making the movie, and everything was on the up and up, and then things went sideways.
Now, and I don't know how much you want to get into that part that you were just alluding to, but I noticed with Chasing Ghosts, your current EP, it was produced by Chris Collier. Was that connection did that come through? Did Munky help you with that connection as well, or how'd you connect with Chris?
Chris came to us because the gentleman that directed Mind Over Matter, one of my best friends, Sebastian Paquette, was also the touring videographer for Korn. So he was always connected with Korn, and Korn was always my number one inspiration, and Munky is my favorite guitarist and my hero, and he inspired me to do all this, and I gave him that guitar, and then he inspired me to kind of pick my life up, put it back together, and start the band. So when we started doing the film, Sebastian was like, well, I think I can get Munky to come into the studio and do a song with you. And Chris Collier had been working with KXM, which is George Lynch, and I believe Doug Pinnick is in that band. And I can't remember. Well, Ray Luzier on drums, Doug Pinnick, George Lynch, and I think that's it. I think they are a trio. Don't quote me on that, and if I mess that up, I'm sorry. But Chris was working with KXM, so he was working with Ray Luzier already, and Ray wanted to get Chris to work on the Korn albums because he was so good. So Ray's idea was, okay, well, if Brandon's going to do this song with Munky, why don't we have Chris produce it and get Chris in front of Munky to kind of pique the interest of maybe Chris working on the Korn records in the future. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Chris came and produced the song with us in the studio with me and Munky. And then Munky was impressed by Chris's work. And then Munky started getting calls to work with, or Chris started getting calls to work with Korn. So it was kind of, it all kind of fell in together and worked out for everybody. And then so we did the song with Munky with Chris, and it went so well. I said to the team, I said, Chris has to produce the entire album. And Chris agreed to do our EP, and he's done every release from then on. He's basically the sixth member of my band. He understands how I play, and he also understands how to push me to the next level and get more out of me than I expect out of myself as a musician and a guitarist. And he has this innate ability from being a multi-instrumentalist. He can see the direction musically where the band's going before I see it.
Nice. Now, I'm always curious about like inspirations for the names and stuff. What led you to name this EP Chasing Ghosts? What inspired that?
So Chasing Ghosts to me, the first EP was Self-Titled as a kind of a nod to my favorite album, Korn, Self-Titled. You gotta start your career with the Self-Titled record, right? And the second EP was Against All Odds, because I felt at that juncture in moment in time, everybody kind of thought my story was cute, but nobody expected us to make a second record for a couple reasons. They kind of thought, the industry kind of thought we were a flash in the pan kind of novelty. And then our vocalist, Mario Valadez, had stepped away from the band because he had two children back 9 months apart. So he had to step away to figure out how to be a dad. So in the interim, they thought we were a flash in the pan. And then we lost our vocalist in the mix. So I entitled that album Against All Odds because I felt like I was against everybody and everybody was against us continuing. And then the third album, or the third EP, I entitled it Chasing Ghosts. And to me, what that means is if you've spent a lot of time in the music industry, you'll spend a lot of time chasing what I call chasing ghosts or chasing shiny red balls, chasing empty opportunities or hollow opportunities, or just flat out chasing things that you think exist but don't actually exist. And out of my own frustration, I called the album Chasing Ghosts because I feel like 90% of my life is centered around chasing people, chasing opportunities, and sometimes chasing ghosts of things that don't actually exist.
Gotcha. Now, Brendan, I'm glad we were able to jump on a little bit earlier. Like I told Shauna, I have another interview I got to get ready to do. So that's why I'm glad we had a little bit more time. I would definitely be interested in maybe having you back sometime in the future too, because there was a couple other things I wanted to get into with you. But for right now, like for fans out there that might be new hearing about you guys and want to check out, the Mendenhall Experiment and pick up or listen to Chasing Ghosts, where would you send them?
So everything that has to do with the Mendenhall Experiment centers around the mendenhallexperiment.com. You can find all of the social media there, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Please go out and listen to our music. You can find it on Spotify. It's the #1 DSP. If you want to go and buy and purchase the EPs, please go to Apple Music, download the music, enjoy it, play the hell out of it, and then if you want to see the movie, go to SumerianRecords.com. Under the films tab, you can find the Mind Over Matter tab. You can buy the film there. If you want to just rent it and see it, you can find it on YouTube for rent. And we really didn't touch much on Chasing Ghosts, but I'll just say Chasing Ghosts is our brand new EP. It's a collaboration of the leftover singles from the self-titled record and the leftover singles from Against All Odds. We put all that together. We gave you a couple of brand new songs that you haven't heard, and we put it all together, titled it Chasing Ghosts, and it's out now. Please go give it a listen, give it an ad in your streaming profiles, and hopefully you'll hear from me again.
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure that I did put something in the private chat for you. So if you get a chance, like maybe, write that information down and we could follow up with, I would love to connect you with Gregory Iron, honestly, too. That'd be quite a collaboration I could see down the line.
Yeah.
If you ever do it.
You know what would be great? I'm putting it out there right now. Let's get Gregory, let's get myself, let's do a co-podcast together, and we can kind of just spitball and talk about our respective careers and trade stories of what it's been like growing up with cerebral palsy and then going into our respective fields and battling it up to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. I've been wanting to get Gregory on to share his story as well. So yeah, I'll definitely work on putting that together. But yeah, write that information that I sent you in the private chat down, and let's keep in touch, man.
I got you, man. Please keep in touch. Let's get that second interview going, and I mean, we can even do it soon if you want. We'll be Chasing Ghosts Part 2.
Yeah, for sure, man. Sounds good. I got to jump over to this other interview, man, but it was great talking to you. I'm glad I was able to get a little bit more time to get into your story, and yeah, for sure, we'll do a Part 2.
Thank you so much, man. Have a good day.
You too. You take care.
Alright! Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers!
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelt.